I have a book called The Arabs. I believe the author's name was Bertrand Thomas. On page 339, he says the original inhabitants of Arabia were not the more familiar Arabs of our own time, but a very much darker people. Now, why would you write a book on the Arabs and then tuck that little sentence away on page 339 talking about the original people? It's obvious that certain historians and anthropologists have something that they want to hide or that they don't want out front. And of course, the color of the people of this land in antiquity, that's what they don't want to be known.
This says Luaka Africani, the African tectonic plate. That's where Israel is sitting on.
I want to say I'm sorry that my English is not so good, but I will try, to explain or to teach the people that don't know that we are here in this land before maybe more in 2,000 of years in this area, in Sinai Desert. It's not far from here. It's near the Jordan-Israeli border. There is our land, my grandfather's land. So before the state of Israel, the border of this Israel or Palestine is not in this border today. It's very near. Before it's El Arish in Egypt today. There is the border of the holy land. This is the religion thing. So many people they don't know that the black people here in this land, it's not for the last 100 years or something like this. It's more than 1,000 of years.
He's from Africa.
نحن 10 دورات بو.
10 دورات, 10 generations here.
بو بإسرائيل. هيتا فلسطين, هيتا لفناء تركي ما
Lifnei, before the Palestinian, before the Turkish Empire, his people was here.
The original people here, it was black. I know about the history of Beni Hilal. I know about the Zir Salem history. Everybody knows this. Most of the Bedouin here, most of them, they come from the Arab Gulf. They know. They can know they're not original here. They know that we are the original people here in this land.
The evidence is hands down. It's not even something that we engage in a debate on about the dark-skinned nature of the peoples that lived in these regions in antiquity. The reality is that we tend to look at this land based on what we've seen in contemporary times. And what do we see? We see fair-skinned Israelis, and we see fair-skinned Arabs.
I'm here originally here for 1,000 years. But the other tribes, I won't talk about the Bedouin. The other tribes here, all the Bedouin here.
Other black Bedouins?
Not the black, even the white.
Even white Bedouin.
Not the Bedouin, there's no white Bedouin.
Yeah.
Bedouin all black. It's not like me.
Yeah. Little lights, like
between white and
mixed.
All this tribe you see the Bedouin here, you tell them.
Yeah.
This will tell you I'm from Arab Saudi, the original. This tribe will tell you, yeah, I'm from north of Jordan. Everybody will tell you he's not original for in this land. He came, not me.
But you came. Did you originally?
They came. But me,
yeah.
I say I'm here. So they have to be clear. If you discuss with them, okay, they say, all of you come here, okay? Who was living this land?
They say it's a black man.
The black man. And before maybe 2,000 and a half, there's the Hebrews. The Hebrews.
The Hebrews were black as well, right?
Yeah, there was in this land, there was just the Bedouin, the black Bedouin like me, and the Hebrews. That's it.
One of the things that we have to understand is that Sheikh A'id, men like Sheikh A'id and others who are the Afro-Bedouins, the Afro-Palestinians in this land, many of them are actually the original peoples of this land. when you go back to the earlier Zionist thinkers, and I'm going all the way back to Ber Berkov, who was the theoretician of the Zionist left, that he actually referred to them as most probably these people that were living in the land prior to the establishment of the state, that they were most probably descendants of the early Judeans and the early Canaanites. And of course, the Canaanites were an African people, sons of Ham.
We are deeply rooted in this country. We are talking about generations and generation and generation. For example, the picture which I have over here. Now, look at the picture pretty well. The man holding the rope of the camel. The man holding the rope of the camel is the Caliph Umar bin Khattab. He is the third man after Prophet Muhammad.
Caliph Ma?
Caliph Umar bin Khattab. When he came to Jerusalem, look at the one who is riding the camel. He's a brother. You can say we began when the Islam came to Palestine, but I'm quite sure we are even before and before and before.
The Israeli author Shlomo Sand, in his book, The Invention of the Jewish People, between the pages of 184 and 188, he goes into great depth talking about the early Zionist thinkers like Ber Berkov and even David Ben-Gurion. He quotes David Ben-Gurion and Ben Zvi, Yitzhak Ben Zvi, talking about the fact that the early Judean peasants were actually the foundation of what they encountered when they came into this land. This is a book they wrote 30 years prior to the declaration of Israel's independence, and they recognized that the Fellahin, this peasant class, were actually those that had remained here, that had converted perhaps to Islam, that had converted perhaps to Christianity, depending on the ruling class, depending on the armies at the time that held Jerusalem and held this particular region. They simply, in their love for the land and the fact that these armies needed to be fed, they became the peasant class, the agrarian agronomists, the agriculturalists who continued to raise their crops and to take care of their families in a desire to stay on this land.
Many black people there was here in this land. I see, for example, I want to tell you that thing. That history is in the history before maybe 2000 years, something like that. There is in this area was a black tribe is called Beni Hilal. Then they say Zayd al-Halali. Everybody know. Everybody in all the Arab wars, if you saw you so strong, you this, they say, what, you are Zayd al-Halali. He was a very brave black man, very strong, very rightness. He like the right. He know the truth. He fight here in this land. Everybody know from the history, even today in our tribe, they remember this man.
I have a book called The Arabs. I believe the author's name was Bertrand Thomas. On page 339, he says the original inhabitants of Arabia were not the more familiar Arabs of our own time, but a very much darker people. Now, why would you write a book on the Arabs and then tuck that little sentence away on page 339 talking about the original people? It's obvious that certain historians and anthropologists have something that they want to hide or that they don't want out front. And of course, the color of the people of this land in antiquity, that's what they don't want to be known.
Even today, you see most of the blacks, because the war and here in the Middle East in the last maybe 100 years or 200 years, some of my family today, there's in Egypt, some of them in Jordan, some of them in the Palestinian Authority, and they know the original. They say we are from this Negev, this area. See, we are the same family. There is in Jericho too. We are in the same family. We live here in this land, but you know, a policy or political or and we don't care that we are not new here. But you know, the government before the Turkish people come here, they control this land for 400 years, and they left, and we stay in the desert. Then the English, the government of English people, they come here, maybe control some of a little time, and they left, and we stay here, and now the Israeli, and we stay here, and we could continue to stay in this land, and we trying, you know, to let the people know that you know, everybody new one come here with the power, with the gun, with the muscles, with this is my land. But people, they have to know the truth. If you have the truth, you have the power, you have to be strength, you have to be to know. That's like I'm saying, everybody here, if you not have no right, you will go. I will stay here for 1,000 of years in the future.